It was a bone-chilling evening, the kind where the cold feels like it seeps into your very bones. I had finished a long day at work, dragging my feet through the crowded city streets. The sky was painted a deep indigo, with streetlights flickering intermittently like tired eyes trying to stay awake. The wind howled through the narrow alleys, and my coat barely seemed enough to shield me from the freezing air. Most people around me were in their own worlds, talking on phones, rushing past without even a glance at the street corners or the faces in the shadows. Then I saw him. He was hunched under a broken streetlight, wrapped in tattered layers of clothing, shivering violently. His hair was matted and his face looked worn, etched with years of hardship. I felt a pang in my chest. Not pity exactly, but something heavier, more human. Most people passed him by, pretending he didn't exist. But I stopped. Something about the way he looked up at the few passers-by, hoping for even a shred of acknowledgement, pierced me. I fumbled with my coat, debating with myself for only a split second. My jacket wasn't new or luxurious, but it was warm, enough to shield someone from the icy night. Without thinking too much, I approached him. He looked up, eyes wary. "Hey, do you want this?" I asked, holding out my jacket. His eyes widened. Why would you do that?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper, a mixture of disbelief and fear. "Because you look like you need it more than I do," I replied softly. His eyes glistened under the dim streetlight. Slowly, almost ceremoniously, he took the jacket and draped it over his shoulders. I could see the tension in his body ease ever so slightly, the shivering reducing to small, manageable tremors. He tried to say something, but no words came out. Instead, he just looked at me, a faint, almost broken smile tugging at the corners of his lips. We stood there for a few moments, silently sharing the warmth between us. Around us, the world moved on. Cars sped past, people continued their hurried pace, the city indifferent to our brief human connection. Yet in that frozen street corner, time seemed to pause. I could feel a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness washing over me. Helping someone shouldn't feel like a heroic act, I thought, yet the gratitude in his eyes made me realize that simple kindness can carry enormous weight. After a few minutes, I said my goodbyes and continued walking home. I didn't expect anything in return, and truthfully, I soon forgot the encounter in the routine of my busy life. Work, chores, deadlines, they quickly buried the memory. Yet deep down, a small ember of hope had been lit inside me. That night, as I fell asleep, I felt a strange warmth, not from the jacket I had left behind, but from the act itself. Somehow I knew that this encounter was not as insignificant as it seemed. It had been a few weeks since that cold night, and life had returned to its usual rhythm. I had almost forgotten the old man, assuming that the jacket had merely provided him a fleeting comfort. But one afternoon, as I was walking down the same street, something caught my eye. There he was again. My heart skipped a beat. Only this time he looked different. Clean, calm, and upright. He was holding something carefully in his hands, wrapped in an old piece of cloth. When he noticed me, his eyes filled with tears. He approached slowly, almost hesitantly, as if unsure whether I would even remember him. "I've been waiting for you," he said, his voice trembling. My mind raced. Waiting for me? What could he possibly need? He reached into the cloth and pulled out a small photograph. I took it, puzzled, my eyes tracing the edges of the old faded photo. "This was my son," he said softly, voice breaking. "He died years ago, in an accident. That night, when you gave me your jacket, I felt like I had seen him again. Your act of kindness reminded me of the warmth I lost, the hope I thought I'd never feel again. You saved me from giving up." My hands trembled as I held the photo. I couldn't find words. I only nodded, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. The man's story poured out in fragments. Years of solitude, nights on the streets, people who ignored him, and the emptiness that had haunted him every day. But that small act, my jacket, my warmth, had rekindled a spark inside him. He felt seen. He felt human again. I realized then that the impact of kindness can stretch far beyond what we imagine. Sometimes we think that our actions are small, insignificant, or unnoticed. Yet to someone in desperate need, they can mean everything. The photograph he had given me was a symbol, a tangible reminder that the connection between two human beings, no matter how brief, can be transformative. We talked for hours that day. I learned more about his life, his struggles, and his dreams. He told me how he had begun working odd jobs, slowly saving money, and trying to piece his life back together. The jacket, he said, wasn't just clothing. It was a reminder that someone cared. That simple gesture had motivated him to keep going, to believe in humanity again. When we parted that day, he gave me a final smile, one full of peace and gratitude. "I will never forget you," he said. I watched him walk away, the photo clutched tightly to his chest, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face. Yet I understood that the real warmth wasn't from the sun, the jacket, or even the gratitude. It was from knowing that a simple act of kindness could ripple through someone's life, creating change that no one else could have predicted. Days turned into weeks, and life resumed its familiar pattern. But the encounter stayed with me, lingering in the corners of my mind. I began noticing small things around me. People struggling silently, overlooked moments of need, the countless chances to make a difference. That one night, one jacket had transformed not only his life, but mine as well. I understood that compassion is not just about charity or grand gestures. It's about noticing the world around us, acknowledging pain, and responding with humanity. Months later, I visited the same street corner, this time prepared to offer help again if needed. The man wasn't there, but I noticed small changes. A few other individuals receiving attention, volunteers providing meals, and the neighborhood slowly warming with kindness. It struck me that change often begins with a single spark. My small gesture had reminded someone of their own worth, and in turn, he had inspired me to notice others. The ripple effect of goodness is unpredictable but powerful. I often think about the photograph he gave me. It sits on my desk, framed and worn, a symbol of what happens when empathy meets action. That night, when I had given him my jacket, I could never have imagined that a simple decision would bring me such profound insight. Human connection, I realized, is fragile yet resilient. It thrives on small acts of courage, generosity, and love. One person's warmth can reignite another's hope, even in the darkest of circumstances. Through this experience, I learned a lesson that I carry with me every day. We never truly know the weight of our actions. Something as small as giving a jacket, offering a smile, or listening with intent can leave a lasting impression on someone's life. And sometimes, the reward comes in ways we cannot predict, not through material wealth, fame, or recognition, but through the quiet, enduring knowledge that we made a difference. Every time I walk past that streetlight, I think of him. I wonder where he is now, whether he's smiling, whether he's thriving. I hope he remembers that night as fondly as I do, but even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter, because the lesson remains. Kindness is never wasted. The warmth we offer can travel further than we ever imagine, touching hearts, changing lives, and reminding us of what it truly means to be human. That jacket, now old and faded, still hangs in my closet. But it's more than just clothing. It's a reminder that even in the coldest moments, a small act of generosity can light up the world. For someone else. And often, for ourselves as well.